All right. Hello, everyone. It's 8 o'clock. So we'll get started. My name is Dan Rothert. I run Top Student Athlete Recruiting. Um, I am here to talk to you a little bit about getting recruited to the New York college soccer. A lot of past 5 or 6 years since the pandemic. Rules continue to change, and it's more challenging. There's a lot of ups and downs in this process. It can be stressful. But it can be easy too. There's a lot of things that go into it. But I am I work with the Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association. I also am sponsoring the Tournament of Champions this next week. I will be at the games on Saturday of next week at Naperville North. I will have a tent there. If anyone wants to come talk to me in person about their personal situation and recruiting, that is fine. As we get started, just a few details about this webinar. This is a webinar. I'm not taking, people can't talk to me on this, but you can put questions in the chat or the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. Either one of those is fine. I'll try to answer those at the end. I may answer them along the way. If there is challenges hearing me or anything like that, let me know, and I'll do my best to rectify the problem. But obviously, we're on a webinar, so technology is what it is, but we'll do our best to do that. But again, I'll be available this weekend and anytime. If anyone wants to reach out, my phone number and email are on here. But I was a college coach for a very long time, 20 some years. Had a really successful career. My last stop was at Loras College in Iowa. I currently live in Iowa. I'm a high school coach. I've coached these two young men here. They're on my high school team, my two sons. And I run Top Student Athlete Recruiting, where I help connect high school prospects and college coaches and help ease the process and take everybody through that process to make it smoother, easier, and find great fit opportunities. I think college is an unbelievable time. I'm taking my oldest to college next week. right? I think it's not a 4-year decision, but a 40-year decision, right? It should be the best 4 years of your life, and you should get everything out of college you desire and more. The more engaged you are, the more things you're involved in, the more opportunities you'll have, the more the student dives into it. Soccer is part of that, right? Find a soccer program that helps maximize your potential as a student and as an athlete. I think that's crucial in this process. You want to find a great fit opportunity. But there's a lot of things happening. A lot of kids think, okay, well, I want to go to this certain school, only the schools they've heard of, right? And they think they can play there. Well, guess what? There's a lot of things happening. A coach needs to want you, needs your position, those types of things. But there's the transfer portal. You've all heard of that. It's a real thing. I'm watching the Notre Dame Miami football game tonight. Half these guys were at different schools a year ago. And this happens in soccer too. And there are some programs that are more traditional and have 4-year guys and they go that route. There are other programs where they're going to get the best player available, and that might be a kid who's played, 3 years at another school or 4 years at another school. And then they go and play their fifth year, because they had an extra year of eligibility for one reason or another at that school. And so you're up against a lot of transfers, and some coaches are going to want those kids who have proven themselves. So that's one thing. There's roster caps now at Division I of 28. That's across the board. There are some schools I know of that are going smaller than that. I talked to a Division I coach last week, and their school caps them at 20 players. That's a really tiny roster. If there's any injuries or anything like that, it's pretty complicated to field a team even. But soccer is not football and basketball. And there are roster caps. Those roster caps have caused some problems because there used to not be roster caps. Some programs had as many as 40 players at the Division I level. Now some are at 28. Or everybody's at 28. So that limits the number of players that are playing at the Division I level. There's disparities in scholarships. Some schools are given full rides to all 28 players. That's true. They have a ton of money. Usually schools that have great football programs because they have the money to do that. Other schools are very small. I know one Division I school that has one scholarship to divide amongst all of their athletes in soccer. They basically pay for everybody's books. And then everybody's paying. To be honest, a lot of kids are paying a lot of money to go play Division I, Division II, and Division III. It doesn't really matter what level. Most kids are paying a decent amount of money. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Extra years of eligibility. They're talking right now that starting next year, across the board in NCAA, every sport, every division, kids might get 5 years of eligibility. Well, how does that affect you as a high school player? It does, because now there's less spots for high school players because the rosters are filled by, extra year of eligibility players. So fifth year seniors and things like that. If that goes through, that's going to make things a little bit harder. We're seeing a lot of reliance on some schools are reliant on international players, right? Look at the roster. Look at what the coach plays. What kind of players are they seeking? Last year's national final was Vermont versus Marshall, two not mid-major programs, you might call them, not powerhouses in other sports, but they put a lot of investment into soccer, and they went after a ton of internationals. I think there were like 3 Americans on the field that day. So look at the roster, see what kind of kids play at those schools. Name, image, and likeness money. You've heard about name, image, and likeness on the news and those types of things. It's not a huge deal in soccer. I'm being totally honest. That's something that's more of a football and basketball thing, but there are some programs that have some name, image, and likeness money. And that may be something else we'll talk about later, but the future of the Division I soccer, will it look the same in a few years? There's a committee right now by U.S. Soccer discussing the future of college soccer. Will the Power Four, will the big schools with big football and big money break away and start basically a minor league professional soccer program that's attached to a school and not be affiliated with the NCAA? That's something they're talking about doing. if that happens, there might be more NIL money. These might be professional athletes, but they play at college. How will that affect other divisions and other levels? There's a lot of changes. I was coached college for 25 years, and then I've been doing this for six. My first 25 years, it's the same thing over and over, right? The rules never changed, and things were pretty much the same. The last 6 years since I've been doing this, it's been the Wild West, and everything's been changing. So, just to give you kind of a brief background of things. Again, soccer scholarships are usually partial. A full ride is very rare. I've seen them, but pretty rare. And then you should not be saying you need an athletic scholarship. Rather, you should say you're trying to find the best value on college. There's ways to find great values on college. And soccer might be part of the equation that gets you more money, but maybe it's, they have scholarships for kids from a certain area or your grades, right? I like to, parents probably like me because of this last one, but because soccer scholarships are usually partial, grades are so important and result in more money for college. Most kids I work with are getting as much or more money for their grades as they are for soccer. Um, that's the real deal. I've had players that get, 50% scholarship for their academics. And then maybe they get 20 to 30% of scholarship based on soccer. So grades are getting more money than soccer most of the time. That's the real deal, unless you're at one of those few schools that gives full rides. I like to just tell you this quick. I say college soccer is the enrollment business. It's not football or basketball. It's not a revenue sport. They're not bringing in a ton of money because of huge crowds and things like that. Colleges need students to make money. More students paying tuition, the more they make money, right? So they can't give a full ride to every kid. All right, they don't stay in business that way. They need, especially Olympic sports, which are like soccer, swimming, those types of things. They want each student to be paying kind of a certain amount of money, and that helps them keep the lights on, keep things moving, pay the bills. Colleges want to make 15 to 25,000 per student per year on average. All right. So if they give one kid a full ride, they want another kid paying 50 so they can be making that 25,000 per student. Except for maybe football and basketball. So even at NCAA Division One in soccer, you're paying money. I just had a player commit to a Division One, and he's going to be paying 30,000 a year to play Division One soccer. He could have gone to a Division Three and paid maybe 20-ish, maybe less than that. Some of his choices. So you got to make some of those decisions sometimes. And is it worth it? I have another player that I worked with who went to a Division One to play and didn't get on the field, and he was paying a ton of money to go there, and he decided to just not go back, and now he's looking at maybe a Division Three option for next year. So those things are challenging. So what are your chances? There's 450,000 high school boys playing high school soccer. There's 40,000 college men's soccer players, all divisions. Division One, Two, Three, NAIA, junior college. 13,000 of those 40 are Division One or two, right? So 7% of high school players play college soccer. 2.8 play Division One or Division Two. All right. So let's break it down even further. Of those 13,000 playing Division One and Division Two, 4,000 are internationals. That's about 30%. And then 5,000, let's be generous and say this is a new number, of new transfers that will be recruited in a given year. All right, so that's a lot of kids, right? So if you factor in internationals and transfers, there might be 1,200 or 1,800 spots left for American players that are freshmen. That's tough to think about. 1,800 is not a lot for a country as big as ours and a number of programs out there. So we're seeing kids land at junior college for a year or two and then go and maybe working their way up. We're seeing kids go to Division threes and with the hope of maybe going to Division One after that. We're seeing kids take gap years and go places where they can maybe get better. And the biggest challenge is an 18-year-old playing against maybe a 24-year-old, 25-year-old. kid that came from Europe and was in an academy program, and they're up against a kid who played American high school soccer. There's some challenges with that. Not saying it can't happen. I got plenty of kids that I work with that are playing Division One. All right, but you need to understand the challenges that are out there, and it's important to do some of the things we're going to talk about here in a minute. If you're good enough, coaches will find you. Most scholarship and most roster spots go to those that market themselves, right? You can't wait for coaches to come watch you. You got to tell coaches when and where you're playing, whether it's high school, whether it's club, whether it's showcases, tournaments, those types of things. You need to let coaches know who you are. Have a good highlight video. We'll talk about that. That's a big piece of things. A good highlight video, kind of shows, yes, that is a kid I want to go see play. All right. And then maybe having a good full game video, because highlights are just that. They're highlights, right? They're your best stuff. You want to be able to show your best stuff, but they're going to want to say, hey, I liked your highlight video. Do you have a full game video? Coaches in your area are going to know you best. Coaches in your backyard. Midwest coaches are going to be able to see you more. That's just the nature of this thing. So it's not to say you can't get recruited out of the Midwest, but have some coaches in the Midwest interested in you first, and then spread your wings a little bit, because I think the coaches in the Midwest know you, will know you more. College coaches go to events with a plan. They know that, hey, I need to go see Billy play at 10 a.m. on field 2 because Billy emailed them. That's important when they go to events. And they also go watch kids they have relationships with. If they're texting you back and forth or emailing you back and forth, there's a little bit of relationship building. They're gonna come watch you play to kind of make sure you're good enough or you're not. Most budgets, college soccer budgets are small. So recruiting budgets are small. So they don't go to every event. And so that's why ECNL and MLS Next are pretty popular. But coaches go to a ton of events, right? And they'll go to ones that meet their needs. I host one of the reasons I'm connected with this Tournament of Champions, is I host the Illinois High School Senior All-Star Classic. It's for seniors. It's in November. We're trying to expand it to juniors based on some new legislation in the Illinois High School Association, but have the best players from around Illinois all convene and at one spot in November after the high school season's over. We have had every Division 1, 2, and 3 school from around the Midwest show up to that event. Tons of kids recruited for it. So because it's a low budget cost thing for these coaches to get to. But are you getting in front of the right coaches? Do you have the right advocates? So you have coaches that can reach out on your behalf, or people that that can reach out on your behalf and tell a coach about you. That's one of the things I do in my business is I call college coaches all day, tell them about players I'm working with. Going back to my last thing, high school, MLS Next, ECNL, what other platforms? Does the platform you're on matter for your recruiting? A lot of kids ask me that. Should I play high school or should I give that up to play MLS Next year round? Many people say you need to be on a certain platform to go Division One. There's a lot of factors there. Certainly, the coaches are going to be at more MLS Next events and ECNL events. But I love high school soccer. I'm a high school soccer coach. I believe if you can dominate in high school, you can get there. All right. Like I said, the Illinois All-Star Classic, something I host, is a great example of a way to get found in my, a different platform. Does the platform you are in change your trajectory for the most part? I don't think so. You are who you are. I don't think it changes who you are. Like just because you played MLS Next or ECNL doesn't mean you're going to get a scholarship or land at a Division One school. I see a ton of kids give up a lot of things. I love that this is a high school event because I love kids that play high school and play other sports and maybe don't travel as much because you can end up in the same place. I have a couple kids that I work with that only played high school soccer. They didn't even play club, and they're playing, super high level college soccer. Another thing I want to talk about is the divisions, right? The division you are as a college is based on a philosophical choice each school makes. It's not because a small school or the size of the school or how good they are at the sport. It's just a philosophical choice the school makes as a broad athletic department. We're going to be Division 1. We're going to be Division 3. Division 3 meaning you don't have athletic scholarships, but they have maybe some more money from other sources. Most people think Division 1's the best, then Division 2, then Division 3. The reality is there's a crossover, right? Yeah, the best teams are Division 1. All right, I'm going to be totally honest about that, but there's a lot of overlap down here, right? Like some of the top Division 2 and Division 3 teams can easily beat some Division 1 teams. I just saw a Division 2 team beat a Division 1 team last week. I've seen Division 3 teams. I used to have coach a Division 3 team. We beat Division 1 teams all the time. So that's certainly an important piece of the puzzle. So there's 5 major mistakes, I think, in the recruiting process. There's just a little video that I'll send to you all after this is over. But 5 major mistakes are target the wrong colleges, right? You got to be honest with yourself and don't target schools that aren't good fits. What do I mean by that? Athletically, everyone wants to play Division 1 in the highest level, but many prospects overshoot this thing. They think they're better than they are. Hey, Dan, I want to go Division 1. All right, let's see some video. Yeah, I don't know if that's really the right choice for you. You can maybe make a Division 1 team, but may never play. Go see college games and really watch with intent. Don't just watch, but watch and decide. Yeah, watch that player that plays your position and watch the formation and watch what they do and see if that's you think you can fit into that level. And honestly, ask somebody in your area. I always think ask a local college coach to come watch you play, and even if they're not someone that is recruiting you, maybe pay them. Maybe pay them $100 to come watch your high school game and have them assess your level of play. I tell that to kids all the time. Because guess what? That can give you a real sense of where you're gonna fit in. Academically, schools that are above your academic rigor. All right. If you're not smart enough to go to Harvard or get into Harvard, applying there might just be a waste of time. And even if you do get into a place like that, you might not get the academic scholarship, the merit award, they call it, right? That's going to help you pay for college because you're a low end student at that high end school. So that's a big thing. Financially, don't target schools that you're going to be out of your price range. There's ways to find out how much a school is going to cost you. There's that each school has a financial aid estimator on their website. Use it. See how much it might cost you to go there. It's based on your tax returns, your parents' tax returns from a previous year. It gives you a really close estimate. There might be a little athletic money they can add on top of that, but typically it's pretty spot on. So I think you should use that. And then what's the overall experience of the school? Is it a fun place to go to school? Is it a winning team? I think personally you get out of college what you put into it. The more you can be a big fish in a little pond, you can go to a small school and be really involved in research and other things on campus and have a great college experience. It doesn't mean, going to a small school or a big school, those types of things. So just find a school that's a good fit for you. Some kids contact too few of schools. You may have heard you can apply your dream school, backup school, safety school, just 3, right? That's for non-athletes. If you want to play in college, you need to go where you're recruited to. You can't force your way on a roster. So I think it's important to cast a wide net, diversify your options. Different divisions. If you think you're Division 1, still reach out to some Division 2s and really high level Division 3s, and see who's giving you love. Like right now, I'll be honest, it's the Division 1 schools are kind of waiting to see for the class of 2026. They're waiting to see if this 5th year of eligibility thing goes through. If it does, they're going to recruit less kids. They're not really going down the road with too many high school seniors right now. There's a couple I work with have committed or are close with Division 1 schools, but most Division 1 coaches that I talk to say we're going to wait, see what happens in January after the transfer portal, if this 5th year thing goes through, and then we'll decide how many kids we might need to bring in. They're kind of getting drug along here where they're having Division 2s and Division 3 schools that are really interested in them, and that want to move forward. And I don't know if you want to leave those options behind and wait around for what might be with Division One. That's a risky scenario based on what's happening right now. Prospects that contact coaches from a wide variety of levels have better results and very often find their dream school is a place they never previously considered or even heard of. And some big advice is just go where you're wanted. You're going to have a better experience if the coaches and the school really, really want you there versus you forced your way on the roster. You got a spot, but you're just kind of there, right? Like if they really want you, you're more likely to be getting playing time and having opportunities there. Don't have a false sense of security, right? A lot of awards and accolades does not mean you will get recruited. Uh, if you're all conference doesn't mean or all state doesn't mean you're going to be Division One. It doesn't. It means different things, different places. I live in Iowa. Soccer is not, as good maybe as in Illinois. Now we have some players that are easily as good as players in Illinois, but we have other kids who are named all state that maybe wouldn't even be all conference, where in the Chicagoland in where I live, they can be great players for that location. It doesn't mean anything. Coaches don't really care if you're all conference or got awards. They want to know if you can straight up play. They're going to come watch you play. Do you fit their style? Are you good enough for them? That's what they want to know. They decide if you're recruitable. No one else. Camp invites, emails, and those types of things don't mean anything unless they're personal and a conversation starts and you go back and forth. I always say, ask a coach for a phone call. If you start getting emails back and forth with a coach, say, Coach, I'm very interested. Can we have a phone call? Now, they can't call anybody until they're after June 15th, after their sophomore year. But until that point, they can't call or get real personal, but they can just send camp invites. But ask for a call or ask somebody to find out for you. That's what I do with a lot of the kids I work with. I'll find out, hey, is that coach really interested? Or how do we find out if that coach is really interested? Well, ask for a phone call. If they don't get back to you and don't set up a call, they're probably want your camp money and try to make money for their program. Or if they do and they start having a real big conversation, if a coach spends 45 minutes on a phone call with you, they're probably very interested. Um, Coaches go to showcases, tournaments, and combines with a plan. I already mentioned that. Get on their plan. Send them an email. Let them know your schedule, when and where you're playing, what number you're wearing, those types of things. And like I said before, our local schools, regional schools interested in you. Coaches know you their own backyard best. Now, it doesn't mean you can't reach out to other schools, but if your local Division Ones aren't interested in you, why do you think Clemson, one of the top Division Ones in the country, that's far away, that doesn't know who you are, would be interested? That's the point, right? But if your local Division Ones are super interested, or local schools are, then you can test the waters other places too. It's just going to be easier to know that. Timing is everything, right? Every program has different timing and timelines. You get on radars as freshman and sophomore and even junior year, but you may not hear anything for a very long time. There are coaches I know that are following kids that I work with that are to be seniors, and they're just kind of waiting to see if there's going to be an opening for that kid or not. They don't want to call the kid yet and start a real deep conversation because they don't want to lead them on. So things happen at different times. I've had kids that have started with me in their senior year and have landed at great spots, and I've had kids that started as early as sophomore year, even freshman year, and they were picked up pretty early in the process. It's a little bit different for every school, and it's changing all the time with the new rules and regulations. Um, don't expect your club coach or your high school coach to help you. The ability of your coaches helping you in this varies, right? You can't expect them to help you. They are busy, they have lives. Their main job is to coach the high school team or maybe teach as well. They often don't have the connections or resources and they have a lot of other responsibilities, but ask them. Ask your coach what their comfort level is in helping you in this process and if they can reach out to some coaches for you. Usually some of them can do a pretty good job. So don't be afraid to ask your coach about that. I do want to touch on ID camps and showcases. There's a ton of ID camps. You probably see them every day. You may have attended some of them. I think you really have to decide, are they worth it? You could spend thousands upon thousands of dollars going to ID camps, traveling to them, staying in hotels, um, flying there maybe if it's those types of things. You got to make sure they're worth it. It's one of the things I help my clients with, and people, have me work with them individually in this process. That's just one of the many things is, hey, is this camp worth it? What's the return on investment? Is it worth going to based on ABC? Can I find out from the coach? Do they need that position? Are they seriously looking at this kid, or is it just a money maker for their program? Um, and then if you do go, what do you do to maximize the opportunity, and which camps do you target? Those things are all things we need to decipher and not just jump at every camp that you get an email for. It's exciting. You get these emails. They seem very interested in you. You need to be able to respond and try to start a conversation, but don't go down the road of I have to attend this camp and be considered there. You need to be good enough to play at that level. All right. But B, know that, there's going to be a lot of camps there coming forward, and you got to pick ones that meet your needs. Um, I touched briefly on highlight video. It's really important to have a very good highlight video. You got to include the right things for your position, right? If you're a center back, you need to do the things center back should be doing, right? That's obviously defending and winning the ball back, heading, all right, is a huge thing at center back. Sometimes not shown enough, hitting a diagonal ball to a winger, connecting passes out of the back, those types of things. But ultimately defending and showing those things. If you're, you don't have to just show goals to have a good highlight video, because you might play a position that doesn't score goals. That's okay. But having a good professional highlight video that circles you, designates who you are through the process, those things are important. 2 to 3 minutes. It needs to show your best stuff at the beginning, because coaches lose interest quickly. Show your best stuff from the get-go and get things going. It's one of the things I do with people I work with is help make highlight videos that show their best stuff. But you can do those too. And most schools have Huddle and things like that. They're accessible to be able to make stuff. Some other advice I have, when you go to events and camps and showcase tournaments, be in shape. Obviously, you're starting high school season, you should be in pretty good shape. Be a positive life force on the field. Go into a game and show that you're just an awesome kid. You're super positive. You're a great communicator. You bring other people up. Those types of things. You want to show coaches that you're a great, positive person, and there's not a reason not to recruit you, right? If you're negative, bad body language, those types of things, you're a jerk out there, coaches may not recruit you. There's a fine line between the right amount of contact with a coach and being annoying, right? I always say, like, reach out 4 or 5 times. If they don't get back to you, they're probably not interested, right? But don't let 1 or 2 or even 3 times, you know, deter you in this process. You're going to have coaches that have different timing, and they might just not respond to emails for a long time. They're busy. Like a lot of kids are, hey, Dan, should I reach out to a coach right now? They just started their seasons. They're totally wrapped up in winning games right now. They might get back to you. Some programs do, but others are really kind of waiting and not doing that. So don't get too down on yourself if you're not hearing back. Write emails from a computer, not a phone. Just too easy to screw it up with your thumbs, right? Check your voicemail. Coaches leave messages. Check your emails. Get back to coaches within 24 hours if they reach out to you. Just that moves you up a list, right? In business, and someone calls and wants maybe to work with you, you got to call them back quickly, because you can move to the top of the line. They're not just talking to that coach, isn't just calling you. He's calling a ton of other kids your age, and how do you move up that list compared to those other kids? So what you should be doing, again, everyone's timeline is different. You need to cast a wide net. You need to send emails to coaches from a wide variety of levels. Email coaches before events or seasons, and start of the high school season. We just started, right, this past week. Send them out your high school schedule. Hey, coach, here's my high school schedule for the year. Here's a new highlight video. When you got something to tell a coach, reach out. Here's a new video. Our team just did really well. Don't feel bad about that, but don't just reach out the same email over and over. Make it different, right? When your team is in an area, maybe you're playing in Naperville, Naperville North. North Central College is right down the street, right? That's an easy target. Hey, and there's a bunch of those like that. But hey, coach, we're going to be at the Naperville North tournament. I see that you guys are close by. Maybe you can come out to the games. Here's my schedule. Those types of things. Um, if you do want to go visit a campus, attempt to set up campus tours through a coaching staff. And if you're going to be on a campus, say, hey, coach, I'm just going to go visit a campus, or you're just going to go visit a campus. Reach out to a coach and say, hey, coach, I've set up a meeting with the admissions office. I'm going to be on your campus on this date. If anyone's around, would you be willing to meet with me? That's another way to do it too. But set it up, don't just set up a tour and hope they're going to find a coach for you. I always say, reach out to the coaching staff, see if they'll set something up for you. Understand the difference between camp invites and being recruited, right? Like a camp invite is not being recruited. A lot of times they're just trying to make money. I know there's schools out there that don't recruit anybody from their camps, but they make a lot of money from camps. Lastly, I think social media in this process is a waste of time. Putting down that you're playing at a certain event on making a social media slide about it, or posting highlight videos, or posting offers. I just think that stuff is all just fluff. It's a waste of time. Coaches are not going to social media to find players. Maybe at schools that are desperate for people, but they're not doing that. You got to reach out with a targeted approach. Email is still preferred. They don't want to flood their inbox with texts, but those are some things there. Just a sample email you can send to coaches before an event. I'll send this out to people, but it's super simple. Keep it short and sweet. Coach, my name is, Dan, and um, I play for Dubuque Senior High School, and I'll be attending the Tournament of Champions. Say something about your game and your strengths. And here's a link to my online highlights. I have this GPA. I'm interested in your college. Here's my game schedule. I wear this number. Pretty simple stuff. If there are questions, feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A. If you want to talk more, I'll be at the Naperville North Stadium under a tent. You'll see me next Saturday. You can come talk to me in person. You and your parents, whoever that might be. I can give you a little more, find out more about your situation, give you some advice. I'm happy to do that. And go from there. But if there are more questions, I'll wait around for a few minutes. And thank you for joining me tonight. And best of luck this week and with your coming games. And I'll see everyone on Saturday. Thank you. I'll just wait around. And if anyone has questions, type them in the chat. There's one question here. How likely is that a coach will come see a freshman? Probably not. I mean, I would say very, very unlikely. Um, on the boys' side, girls is a different beast, and we're dealing with boys here. Girls, I would say they watch freshmen because they girls are recruited about a year earlier. I would say most boys recruiting happens sophomore and junior year. Um, so that's kind of when that all goes down. I still have a lot of my boys that are 2026 that are, some are going down the road with coaches, some are committing right now, some are just committed. Um, but most of it goes sophomore and junior year. They just want to see how a kid grows and develops and things like that. So freshman year, I would say, is highly unlikely unless it's like a super high level program or that kid's super developed, right? They're way beyond developed and might have a chance to be, something big, and they can be looking at them at a, the Clemsons and Wake Forest of the world. It's a good question. What should freshmen do at this point for exposure? Make highlight videos. Kind of keep track of those. Like you're going to grow as a player, so you're going to want to show freshman year highlights. With high school, and then with club. So have different videos kind of showing your growth over time. It's good to show interest to coaches. It's okay to go to a couple ID camps that are local and low hanging fruit in terms of return on investment. They don't cost a lot. They're pretty local. You don't have to fly across the country, stay in hotels and things like that. I think it's a good way to get used to those environments because if you do need to go to a camp to get uh, an offer from a coach later on, you're used to doing that. So I think there's some value in doing that. But again, keep it kind of local and good return on investment there. But I think the video stuff is important. I think kind of start some conversations, let coaches know you're interested in their school. But you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to like beat the streets and you know keep going after them because they're not going to get back to you. They can't talk to you really until after your sophomore year. So, you don't even really going to know if they're interested back. But, once in a while, letting them know what's going on. Does the club you are with matter? I don't think it matters. No, I have kids that are from no name clubs going places. Um, uh, I have kids that don't even play club that are playing high level Division I soccer. Now, I'll tell you this. Um, some clubs get more recognized, right? They're at events. Kids in MLS next are at more college coaches are at. And you see it now, right? Because coaches have a limited budget. They can only go to so many events. So if they're going to go to the events, that gives them the chance to see the most kids in one shot. And those events end up being MLS Next and ECNL. But it doesn't really matter. Go where you're, I think with the club thing, my personal opinion is go where you're happy, go where you think you're going to develop the most, go where it's convenient. Don't be driving 3 hours one way to go play for a team. Um, because you know what? I don't think this is a predictable thing, the college recruiting thing. And for you to give up all of that for the dream of maybe playing at a college, program, um, I think that's misguided, to be honest. I think club coaches are going to tell you that it's important you got playing for their club or you get the most exposure there. Now, if you're a super, super high level player, maybe you need to be in MLS next to because some Division I coaches are going to say, if you're not in MLS next, we're not going to look at you because we need to see how you compete against those types of players. That does happen here and there, but I would tell you, most of the kids I would work with, I would tell them just stay where you're at, stay where you're happy, go where you're happy, go what's convenient, go with, don't spend all your money going to play club soccer when college costs money. No matter you're not getting a full ride for college. So I think that's my advice on the club thing. We can talk more about it at the event if you want. When I am looking to email a coach, or reach out to a coach, how do I know what coaches or colleges to reach out to and who to target? That's a good question. Yeah, go through, um, start locally, look around the local schools, look at all the divisions. There's some websites, I have access to stuff with my profiles and things like that. You can access every school in the country and look at them. But, if you can do this on your own, you want to go look at schools, major. What's a good major that you might be interested in? Does it have that major, right? Go to the soccer website, look at the roster. Are they full of international players? Are they full of guys from, recognizable clubs and clubs that you've played against, or high schools that you know of and things like that? Um, Coaches recruit, they have patterns, right? When I coached college, I recruited a ton of Chicago kids, Chicago land kids, right? I had tons of connections. So kids knew, hey, Dan's going to recruit Chicago kids. So then they looked at my website. Oh, yeah, I know some of these high schools. I know these kids are from there. Maybe I have a chance to go there. Um, so look at the major, look at maybe what the cost might be. Uh, everybody, everybody's different in terms of what they're looking for, but cast a big net from, like I said, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, but dive a little bit deeper into each website and kind of write down, hey, I'm kind of interested in this school. If you don't know, that's okay. Cast a big net. Talk to your guidance counselor. Get some ideas from them of some schools that might be of interest to you, just from a student perspective, not just a soccer perspective. And then look into their soccer program. Oh, does that fit my needs? Um, I usually have the kids I work with start with a list of about 30 to 40 schools. Some might be a lot better fits for them than others. Then I give them ideas and things like that, and we start the ball rolling. But, cast a huge net. Reach out to a ton of schools. Maybe the location you're looking at. Look at conference. Okay, so you're interested in this one school. Look to see who they play in their conference. That might be schools that are like them, right? Schools typically when they go into a conference, it's not just from a athletic point of view, but they try to pair with schools that are like them from an academic perspective. So if you're interested in one, maybe all the other schools in the conference could be schools that could be of interest to you as well. Especially, and that's kind of everywhere. So looking across the country and checking those things out can be important. Really good question. If you don't play varsity until your senior year and not at all, will you be recruited? No. That's a good question. I personally think I've seen kids who were not recruited until senior year because they weren't getting the exposure, maybe they weren't on varsity. I'll tell you a story. I had a kid when I was coaching that played JV at a really, really good high school. Um, and he got recruited to play by me, and he had an unbelievable college career. Everyone develops at a different trajectory, and you can become a great player when you're a senior, and you can become a great player when you're in college. So I think you can get there but even if you're not on the varsity, college coaches aren't coming to a ton of high school games. That's the truth of the matter. So I don't think that really matters. And you can develop as time goes along. I've seen it. I think I've seen kids that have done really well. My own son he was a pretty average player and until his senior year, and he blew up and was all state his senior year. And then he got a lot of interest, right? So that can happen. Um, so yeah, that's a great question. If you want to play, there's a place, and you got to find a place that's willing to take a risk on a guy like that or recruit a guy like that. Not everybody will, but there's definitely places that will. And sometimes as a coach, you find a kid like that. It's a diamond in the rough that nobody else knew about. But great questions. Again, I'll be around on Saturday. If anything else comes up, just come talk to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. You'll see my tent at Naperville North. Um, and best of luck. Anything else comes up and you just want to message me privately, send me an email or send me a text and we'll go from there. Do I have a list of ID camps in the area? I actually don't. Most schools have their own. I don't love the big ID camps that are hosted by outside parties. I'll be honest, like exact ID camps and things like that. I think that those are oversold, and a lot of times it's an assistant coach that's there, and they don't really do a very good job of getting you in front of them. But each school should probably have their own on their website. That's where I would look. And I don't love ID camps because I think there's sometimes they're money grabs. But I do think some can have value, and check out their website and see if you can find it on there. All right, hope to see a lot of you Saturday. Thanks for sticking around for some questions. Um,